The one and only Mr. Rodney Green. Rodney, how the heck are you this evening, brother?
Woo! Man, I'm feeling so good, Joseph. I haven't been this excited in a fight. Man, it has been so long. I've thought about it every day. I wake up thinking about it. I go to bed watching their previous fights. And, oh, boy, it won't be long, brother. It won't be long. So I'm excited. So let's get right to it. Let's talk boxing. Let's talk Lomachenko versus Teofimo. The big showdown going down Saturday night, bro. It's going down, man. It's going down, bro.
Yeah, the only thing I feel bad about is that we're not there to cover it in Vegas. Damn it.
Oh, my God.
And, you know, man, it's funny. I reached out to several of our colleagues, man, who write for other periodicals. They're not allowing a whole lot of media coverage, media outlets to attend the event. Just the big mainstream, you know, AP-type news wires, that's it. Just the mainstream outlets. No YouTube press, no Fight Saga. I mean, not even Fight Hype. So, it's so don't feel so bad. I don't feel so bad because, we're not alone. We weren't just left out in the cold here, man. It's just very, very frustrating that a fight of this nature is not getting the kind of publicity that it deserves. I mean, when you look at how blown up Fury versus Wilder 2 was, that was a grand event. It almost felt like during fight week, it almost felt like Holyfield versus Lewis. It felt like a giant undertaking. This should be right there. Unfortunately, without all of the media coverage, it's just not getting that same traction. Your thoughts on this and how it could affect the numbers on ESPN this Saturday night?
Well, I believe, again, this is not a spectacle, which it should be, based on two of these superior fighters, in my opinion. Under normal conditions, I think it would really be an event where myself, I know I would probably be flying into Vegas Thursday along with a lot of other boxing diehards, or, some already there during fight week as the kicks off Tuesday when the fighters arrive, mostly. So it's missing that element. It is missing that buzz. But then again, you still have some electricity because, again, I see a lot of emotion on social media. If you go on YouTube from the Hall of Famers, some of the great fighters in the past, they all have an interest in it. They all have an opinion on it. They've all spoke on it. So, again, it's not what it should be under normal circumstances. But, Joseph, I'll take it. Like right now, I'll take it. And I think if a great performance is put in front of us this weekend, man, I think it can really start some upward mobility as far as boxing going in 2020 and getting ready to 2021 with some good possibilities as the things continue to open up regarding the COVID and all the restrictions. So all in all, as I said, man, it should be a fight of the ages. It should have all the media attention, all the publicity. Unfortunately, with the restrictions, we can't have that. But, Joseph, I'm not going to complain because Saturday night, I know where I'll be, right in front of that TV, dialed in, tuned in with my eye on the fighters in the ring. Can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I knew you were excited when the show started, man, because you did your best Ric Flair impression, brother. I love it, man. I tell you what, guys, we're going to go over everything tonight. We're going to talk about the odds, and wow. And I guess we're not alone, Rodney, because in the week of the fight leading up to it, of course, we always have to, devote ourselves to the head-to-head articles, the odds articles, all the articles leading up to the week of the fight. And we're always publishing this on FightSucker.com, guys. Go check it out. So we always do our homework before fight week, and I think that's been the case for all of the major journalists on the major boxing periodicals, because there has been this trend as of late. You remember last week on the show at this time, there was kind of a trend that money was starting to go towards Teofimo Lopez, and the odds were starting to shrink. Well, now it's the very opposite. And, guys, we always look to the most reliable one that we look at is the book at the MGM Grand. That's where the fight's taking place. And last week, it was down to a -300 and a +225. As of right now, just 1 week later, Vasyl Lomachenko is sitting at a -400, or a 4-1 betting favorite. Teofimo Lopez is now a +300, according to the sports book at MGM. Now, if you look at Wyndham Hill across the pond, Vasyl Lomachenko is listed as a 4.5-1 betting favorite. That's a -450, and Teofimo Lopez is listed as a +350. So, and I've read several articles where journalists are saying, well, we just don't see how Teofimo Lopez is going to be able to win this fight. And, after doing our research, I have to agree with them, brother. Rodney, your thoughts after conducting your due diligence and watching several hours of fight tape. What is your assessment on this? And once again, we're not going to give our official prediction until we've really nailed this one down for the entire hour. So what are your thoughts on this odd spread, and are you surprised that it's leaning heavily, so much money being placed now on Vasyl Lomachenko the week of the fight?
No, I'm not surprised at all. And as I said, now that the fight is pretty much upon us, people are doing their homework. They're doing their due diligence and really assessing it to the best of their abilities. But let me just speak on this, though, Joseph, real quick. And I want you to really understand where I'm coming from, and I hope our listeners understand, too. I'm going to talk about Vasyl Lomachenko, 3 opponents, 3 guys that I've always had massive respect for. For years, who I thought was one of the most underrated and underappreciated boxers that did everything textbook that nobody talked about? You know who that was, Joseph?
If I had to guess, and knowing you, I'd probably say Gary Russell Jr.
Nope, I say
Guillermo Rigondeaux, then.
Linares.
Oh, Jorge Linares. Ooh, you know what, man? He is an elite-level offensive machine.
And he never got the credit. He has a high boxing IQ. And if you watch the last fight between him and Vasyl Lomachenko, he tried to control the distance. And for a while, he matched wits with his IQ. But we still see the end result. But a guy I have a ton of respect for. That's one fighter. Another guy who we thought the world of, Joseph, and at one time we saw him, we was like, God damn. Remember?
Yeah, I think I can guess this one. And I remember when we saw his debut with Top Rank in Corpus Christi on the undercard of Nonito Donaire versus Vic Darchinyan, and that was the Axeman, Nicholas Walters.
Man. God damn. When we saw him, what did we say? This guy got next, man. He's a bad dude.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going down memory lane. And lastly, before Gary Russell fought Lomachenko, I saw him as a future pound-for-pound fighter. He had everything that I was looking for to be in the pound-for-pound rankings. And we know what has happened to his career since he fought Lomachenko. Did it ascend or did it descend?
No, it fizzled.
It fizzled. So with that being said, man, I think sometimes we really must have forgot how bad of a dude Lomachenko is. And when I went back and watched a lot of his fights the past week, man, years ago I said that he had the best footwork. Oh, no, you would have. I said it years ago and I say it again. Lomachenko has the best footwork I've ever seen in boxing. That's including Manny Pacquiao. That's including Roy Jones Jr., and that's including Muhammad Ali. I stand by that, okay? Now, the thing is, man, one thing about Lomachenko, I was listening to Sean Porter's pops said that they fought him in the Olympics. And he said, you know what, man, don't get me wrong. My fighter did everything that he was supposed to do. Everything I told him to do, he did it. And guess what? Lomachenko is just like around 3 or 4 years ahead of everybody. Man, he is that good. You know,
yep.
he is that good. And lastly, I heard Jorge Linares, man, and he spoke with this with conviction, and he said, you know what? As far as athletic skills, you can't take anything away from Teofimo Lopez. But I'm telling you, from a mental aspect, I've been in there with him. And let me tell you, Lomachenko is one of the smartest and most intelligent boxers I've ever sparred with, seen in my life. I've been around some of the best, and it's a different level. It truly is a different level. So with that being said, I am not surprised at the odds now when you really start to assess it. No disrespect to Teofimo, but trust me, man, he's going to have to really, really bring his A game. He's going to have resiliency. Because one thing I watched when Lomachenko fight, again, he gets into a rhythm, Joseph. And if my personal opinion, if Teofimo don't get him out of there before round 3, he's in trouble. He's in trouble, and I can see it being stopped. I can see it being stopped because, you know what, it's really going to become a matter of wit and ring IQ, and the longer it goes, I believe it can get ugly. And I'm not giving my prediction yet, but I just want to put that out there that I can kind of foresee what might happen. But long story short, we must have forgot just how bad of a dude is Vasyl Lomachenko.
Yeah, you know what? Like I said in last week's press conference, just listen to both of them talk. I was starting to drink the Lopez Kool-Aid. Well, after conducting my due diligence as well, I came to the same assessment. And I know what you're alluding to, Rodney, because guess what? Odds are trending also. A lot of money is starting to being placed on a Lomachenko stoppage in the under between rounds 7 and 9. Those odds are actually shrinking as well. A lot of people are starting to place money on a potential Lomachenko stoppage. Now, after, once again, watching all the Lomachenko footage, let's talk about now reviewing the Lopez footage. Guys, Teofimo Lopez, there's a reason why this fight is so intriguing. He is the number 2 ranked lightweight in the world, and he's the current IBF title holder. And the reason why this fight is, let's just remind ourselves why we're so excited for this fight. Because he has that X factor intangible that really is terribly difficult to measure. And this is one thing that just drives boxing writers like us absolutely insane, because you can't gauge it. When you look at, Vasyl Lomachenko is a superb athlete, but that's not really where he shines. His conditioning is world-class. His athleticism is world class, but his ring IQ, I mean, you're talking about someone who potentially, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. He's got a genius level boxing ring IQ. It's unrivaled at this point. But when you look at Teofimo Lopez, and here's the X factor, his natural athletic gifts are absurd. It's off the charts. You look at his, I mean, just look at what he does at the end of his knockouts. He doesn't telegraph his punches either. He is able to sneak them in very quickly, and it always has an effect on his opponents. But look at what he does at the end of the fight. Once he's won, he does this strange gyrating dance at the end of his performance and does a standing backflip in the middle of the ring. This kid is a freak. He is a truly special athlete. And when you couple that with his confidence level, and no, he doesn't have the kind of amateur background that Vasyl Lomachenko has. No one does. Vasyl Lomachenko is arguably the greatest amateur in the history of the sport. I mean, when you look at that record and the amount of times he only lost, that's absurd. Okay, but you look at Teofimo Lopez, over 150 amateur fights, that's not bad. When you look at how quickly Bob Arum was able to ascend Teofimo Lopez up the ladder to get his first world title. 15 fights only, right? And this is based just on his natural athletic gifts, his reflexes, his speed, his ability to stay calm and cool in the ring. Yeah, there's a reason why everyone is so intrigued about this fight. And that's the thing that intrigues me the most is you really don't know how this is going to play out. I mean, you kind of have an idea, but it's that X factor that Lopez brings to the ring that makes it so intriguing. And when you go back and look at fights with Linares, you look at fights with Luke Campbell, you look at fights with Pedraza, where, he was able to get touched a little bit. What's going to happen if Lopez is able to touch him? Because you're talking about someone he shouldn't be campaigning at 135. The only reason why right now Lopez is at 135 pounds is because he's only 23 years old. But guys, and we're going to talk about this, we discovered after speaking with someone from Top Rank, we found out why there is no rematch clause, right? And it's because both fighters are not going to be competing at 135. Yes, neither fighter is going to be a lightweight after this fight. I found out, and I guess they were trying to keep it secret, but it just slipped out, and he wasn't supposed to tell me, I guess. But yeah, Teofimo Lopez is going to move up for sure, win or lose, to 140. What are your thoughts on this? And does this change the complexion of this fight? Apparently, yeah, he's not comfortable making 35 anymore. In fact, it wouldn't shock me if he failed to make weight in this fight.
Yep. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like, you know what? At the end of the day, if we don't make weight, we enhance our chances of winning. We're not going to campaign at this weight class anymore. And at the end of the day, we're going to be moving on, win, lose, or draw. But I don't foresee him making weight. I really don't. I thought of that scenario. But let's just, again, man, Teofimo Lopez, he's special. He has a high ceiling, a bright future. And you look at some of the greats that he sparred with, whether it was Sean Porter, Rigondeaux, Devin Haney, I think he sparred with Terrence Crawford, and everybody, man, they speak highly of him, glowing of his abilities. So we have to respect that. We truly, truly do. we have to respect his ability and respect the fact that he's a bigger man and that really, if he touches you one time, it can change the complexity of the fight. So, that's the intrigue. And also the intrigue is that he's put it out there that what he's going to do. This kind of reminds me of Muhammad Ali when he fought Sonny Liston. He was going to shock the world. Everybody didn't believe it. But he saw it. He knew it. He felt convicted. He said, I'm going to beat him. I'm going to beat him easily. Okay? Teofimo is doing the same thing. So we're going to find out sooner than later. Okay? It won't be long now. But as I said, win, lose, or draw, I would hope both guys, they go back or go up to they respected weight divisions they plan on campaigning at, and they still have their star power, their earning power, and continue to have a successful career. That's my hope. But, yes, Joseph, we normally are. I'm on the same page. Look for him to come in maybe 2 pounds over the scale when it's time for weigh-in. I really believe that.
Yeah, and even if he does make weight, right? Even if he is able to shed this off the last couple days before the weigh-in, look for him. Okay, now another thing also, because this was a question when Gogi and I did the Sunday night show. We said, well, he's got the IBF title, so that means he has the 10-pound limit the morning of, the same day weigh-in, right? He's only able to hydrate up 10 pounds and then possibly rehydrate more after they do the same day, the morning of weigh-in, right? Because he does have the IBF title, and that's one of the rules, one of the rules in the bylaws of the IBF. Well, I contacted Daryl Peoples to try and confirm this, and he said no. In a situation where there's a unification bout, you don't have to have a 10-pound restriction the morning of the fight, which means that even if he does make weight, you're going to see this kid hydrate up with some IVs, and you could see him come into the ring as a junior middleweight. You could see him come into the ring at 150. Shane Mosley used to do that back in the day. Do you remember when he was campaigning at lightweight? It wasn't fair.
Yeah, when
not only did he have lightning fast speed, and he'd beat you up with both hands, but he would also hydrate up to like 150 pounds the day of the fight, which made him an unbeatable fighter at 150 pounds or at 135.
135 pounds, yeah. To me, that's where he had his best career, in my opinion, at 135, to be honest.
He was unbeatable, untouchable.
Yeah.
So we might see Vasyl Lomachenko, who, in my opinion, has the frame of a featherweight or a super featherweight. He's fighting above his natural weight. So you might see a natural featherweight facing a junior middleweight on the day of the fight.
Okay, so I thought about that scenario, Joseph. But when you watch the Jorge Linares fight versus Vasyl Lomachenko, and you really tune in, you see just how much bigger Linares was. Okay,
Linares was huge compared to Vasyl. Yep.
Man, it truly was. So I think he's going to have a additional, hill to climb with Teofimo's, added weight, and he's already the bigger man, and I know he's probably thinking that he's going to be able to impose his will on Vasyl Lomachenko. And it's just, man, really, as I tell people, regardless of what we think and the homework we've done, I've seen pound-for-pound fighters lose their greatness overnight, whether it was Roy Jones, okay? I started to see his decline, whether it was Muhammad Ali, and you just never know when it might happen. You never know who's going to be the fighter that's going to be the kryptonite, and it's usually somebody that, is special or someone that we just didn't foresee. So, man, Saturday is going to be a special night, 2 special fighters, and as I said, Joseph, I can't wait. I cannot wait, buddy. I am so excited, and it cannot get here soon enough. I've talked about it. I've watched videos. I've ran different scenarios. And, man, Teofimo Lopez, just a great talent. And, man, Vasyl, I think, man, really, he doesn't get truly the credit he deserves. And even though we acknowledge him as, just superior and superb, I think you can add some more adjectives to that, man, because he is that good. He truly is.
Very well stated. Yeah, you're absolutely right. As good as Teofimo is, yeah, it seems that he's bitten off more than he can chew at this time. And once again, you're talking about a version of Vasyl Lomachenko. Now, if you guys have been tuning into Blood, Sweat, and Tears on ESPN, boy, that's been a real treat, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you see, like, he had a torn rotator cuff that had to be surgically repaired. Yeah, so Team Lomachenko insists that you're going to see the best version of Vasyl Lomachenko on Saturday night. He is coming into the fight with no physical ailments. He's going to be at 100%. That is going to be something to behold. And honestly, I can't wait. And obviously, Teofimo Lopez, well, they're brimming with confidence, our team. But this is what bothers me. And if you watch Blood, Sweat, and Tears, they said this. They're like, well, if you look at Vasyl Lomachenko's second fight, he let the bigger guy, Orlando Salido, just boss him around the ring, and boy, he really beat him up, and he got gave him his only professional loss. Well, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to bully him and push him around the ring, and we're going to show him who the better, bigger, more powerful man is in the ring. When they said that, I immediately said, okay, well, they're in trouble now. And here's why, because I've heard fans, Rodney, I've heard fans say, oh, well, the blueprint's already out on how to beat Vasyl Lomachenko. And I'm like, okay, well, a couple things here, right? One, boy, he really learned from that fight, because if you look at his fight with Axeman Nicholas Walters, boy, and Nicholas Walters, when he was getting frustrated, tried to put hands on him and push him around and kind of manhandle him. And what happened when he tried to grab a hold of him or punch him in the clinch? Vasyl actually used that elbow and forearm to create that distance and had his way with him. He learned from that fight. And here's the most important factor of this failed strategy. Okay, Orlando Salido is an effective aggressor. That's how he fights. That's his trade. He is an aggressive-minded volume puncher by trade. His whole strategy when he goes into the ring is pressure. Rodney, when have you ever... Now, I know you, and you just finished watching a ton of fight tape on Teofimo Lopez. When have you ever seen him be the effective aggressor, cutting off the ring, closing the distance, and working on his opponent on the inside? Because I tell you what, if there was ever a time that he should have done it, it was against the big 6-foot Japanese fighter.
Yeah.
But he didn't now, did he? No, he tried to fight him at range, and, yeah, it was a very difficult fight for him. So if he's capable of doing that, well, why didn't he do it then? And if he couldn't do it then against a big, stationary, lumbering Japanese fighter that really didn't use his footwork as the foundation of his defense, do you really think he's going to be successful in cutting off the ring against a fighter with the best footwork in boxing?
Right.
Good luck with that.
As I said, yeah. I mean, if you're going to employ that strategy, like they always say, you are who you are. Okay. I don't think he can transform himself to a Orlando Salido type of fighter in 3 months or 4 months and really mimic that, that style of fighting or that technique. Okay. So, as I said, he's not an effective aggressor. which is going to be curious because Lomachenko is a rhythm fighter. He has a dancing background. Let's just be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he has, and if you watch his fight, he gets into a rhythm. It looks like he's almost like scrabbling with a crayon when he's peppering you with that jab. And it doesn't look like he's really, it's like a peppering jab, and he's in and out like he's, scribbling and everything. But what he's really doing, he's getting into a rhythm, and he's getting closer to you. He's getting closer he's closing that distance. He's getting your timing down, your rhythm, and just ask Jorge Linares. Once he started getting close to him and got his rhythm down, he started hitting him flush. He started going up and down. And before you know it, that vicious liver shot put that big man down where he couldn't get up. So it's going to be curious to see how Teofimo plans to attack, okay? Because if he sits and lets Lomachenko kind of, be the lead dance partner and he get into a rhythm early, Joseph, I don't know about that, though, bro. I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not too sure if he can be the distance fighter kind of like how Jorge Linares was, because Jorge Linares is a tall, rangy fighter, great jab, get great extension on it, and it took Teofimo took Lomachenko a while to crack that code before he can start getting inside. I don't know if Teofimo has that in his tool set or in his tool belt. He has the knockout power that Linares doesn't have. But does he have that in his arsenal to keep him at bay? Because if you watch the Linares fight with Lomachenko, that was all smarts by Jorge Linares to get that knockdown. It was quick, it was accurate, and it was nothing that he could do to really prevent that. He was set up perfectly. And that's the thing, though. You got to have the mindset, which Jorge Linares, he has a high boxing IQ. We're going to find out Saturday if Teofimo has that attribute as well, which I'm curious to find out.
Yeah, we look at the success that Teofimo Lopez has had up to this point, and we mentioned it earlier on the show. It seems to be generated, all of his successes has been the product of him just being the better athlete in the ring, with the better power, with the better speed, with the better reflexes. He is just a truly naturally gifted athletic specimen. Now, will that carry him to victory over the smartest fighter in boxing, hands down? We'll see, because I'll say this. Noticing also Teofimo's style. He's a donut fighter. And people make all of his opponents leading up to this point, they've made a terrible miscalculation. Kind of like the way Sergey Kovalev, all of his opponents treated him going into a fight. They said, well, the conventional wisdom is, well, this guy's such a hard puncher, you don't dare get into mid-range. You want to keep it at a distance. Well, wrong, because you're going to catch shots at the end of his punches. He's a donut fighter, which means, boy, he's great from mid to long range, but he's got nothing underneath. Have you ever seen Teofimo Lopez have to fight on the inside?
Nope.
We've never seen it. He's a donut fighter. So once Lomachenko is successful closing that distance and finding his way inside, in my opinion, it could be all over. Unless Lopez has been working on the uppercut and the left hook to the liver. He's done. How long did Sergey Kovalev last once Andre Ward figured out that he's a donut fighter and he just sat there on the inside tagging him to the body? What happened? How long did he last after that? Man,
his days was numbered, and he's never been the same since that fight.
What I want to know is, because it's inevitable, Lomachenko's going to find his way inside.
Oh,
he is going to freeze Teofimo Lopez with his footwork. I mean, he's a magician in the ring. Like, he's got everything going on simultaneously. He's working the sporadic jab to the body and head. He's using sporadic footwork to move in and out of range, and he's also moving his head off the line so he doesn't stay in the line of fire. How the hell does he do that, Rodney? Like, I was watching him fight in like every single fight, and he moves his head, and he moves that jab while he's working his way to keep you occupied. And then he's also pivoting in and out of range, moving in and out of range fluidly. It's something to behold. And also, here's another X factor when we're discussing intangibles, right? When you look at the Orlando Salido fight, when you look at the Jorge Linares fight, when you look at both of those fights, when Lomachenko was in trouble and he was being pressed, boy, he showed that he can adapt and come on late. We were at that event at the Alamodome when Orlando Salido fought him. Lomachenko came back and turned it on in the 12th round and almost stopped Orlando Salido.
He sure did.
When he got hurt against Jorge Linares, he actually turned it up, took over the fight, and stopped him in the 11th round. And I know a lot of people who had that fight even going into the 11th round.
Yeah.
So not only does he have that high ring IQ, those great physical gifts, that speed, that fluidity, but he also has heart, and he also showed his mettle in those two. Like, this could be, Rodney, an insurmountable hill to climb for Teofimo Lopez. Before we move forward, your final thoughts on those intangibles, sir.
Man, every once in a while we're witness to watch someone that has they're truly just a different, whether it is, not saying they're the greatest of all time, but kind of like Steph Curry, some of the things that he can do, it can't be duplicated. It cannot be replicated. It truly is a sight to see, and you have to appreciate it. Well, it's the same way with Vasyl. I mean, some of the things that he does, when I first saw him, I was like, wow. It's just, his talent it just jumps out at you, and when you watch the way he moves, man, it's almost like it's fluid, it's poetry, it's something that you've never quite seen before. I don't care if it's Barry Sanders, Manny Pacquiao, Muhammad Ali, just the same. This guy's footwork, man, I tell you, man, it is really it's something that's on another level, another stratosphere. And, again, I've been blessed to watch some great athletes, man, whether it's Hakeem Olajuwon, guys, guys who are known for their footwork, man, and that's the thing that people will tell you about them that sticks out. Man, Vasyl is that much greater, and that's, and that's a tough hill to climb right there. But as I said, nevertheless, we're going to find out Saturday. It's going to be a very good, bigger man going up against possibly a all-time great little man. And that intrigue and that element right there has me excited. And as I said, Joseph, we're getting closer, buddy. It won't be long now. It won't be
Indeed,
long
brother.
now.
Indeed, my friend. And I'll tell you what, and guys, we strongly urge everyone, if you haven't watched it yet, do yourselves a favor and go watch on demand Blood, Sweat, and Tears, episodes 1 and 2 on ESPN. And you're a devout father, Rodney, and I tell you what, as long as I've known you, you are one of the best parents I've seen. You are a devoted father, and you nurture and you mentor your children. You're not just the stern disciplinarian. You mentor your kids, and they're the better for it. I commend you on that. I'm the same way with my son, right? With that said, it hurt my heart to watch the second episode of Blood, Sweat, and Tears when Teofimo Lopez was talking about his dad. He started crying, getting very emotional, saying, you know what? I miss my dad. I miss my dad. I miss my father. You know, don't get me wrong, I still love him to death, but I miss my father. He hasn't been my father in years. I wish he could be my father again, because all I see right now is my coach, my trainer. I wish he could be my dad again. It hurt my heart to watch that. Like, I actually started getting emotional when I saw that, because I was just thinking relatively, you know, how I am as a father, how I am as a man, and I know how you are. And, yeah, that really hurt my heart watching that. And especially when you start to realize why Teofimo Lopez has been, well, taken this feud with Vasyl Lomachenko so personally. It's because his dad got him into this mess. Apparently, they explain on this that his dad was inebriated, I guess, at least Vasyl Lomachenko thinks so, that he was drunk, and he just came at him starting to just talk a bunch of jive of how his son is going to beat the snot out of him. And he actually had to get him taken away as Vasyl Lomachenko was getting in his elevator leading up to his hotel room. He said, yeah, he seemed crazy. I thought he was drunk. And I'm like, you know what? You're a father. That's your son. It's like, what are you doing? Vasyl Lomachenko thought it was ridiculous. And obviously now Teofimo Jr. feels compelled to, well, stick up for his loudmouth, abrasive father. Yeah, that's, to me, you could very well see a separation of those two within the next couple of years, because it would seem, after watching this, that this could be an emotional factor and a very bad thing for Teofimo Lopez in this fight. Because the last thing he wants to do against a surgeon in the ring is to get emotionally invested while he's trying to think. Obviously it keeps him from thinking. It keeps him from focusing if he's too emotional. We all saw that. What happens when a fighter gets too emotional in the ring in February when Deontay Wilder, let Tyson Fury get under his skin, right? This is bad. I'm fearful that this is really going to affect Teofimo in the ring. Has, in your mind, Rodney, has his relationship with his dad, has it become toxic to the point where it's really going to affect his progress within the sport of boxing?
Well, here's the thing, and this, oftentimes when you have kid prodigies or when you're coached by your dad, the both of you guys make a lot of sacrifices. Okay. Again, you can go back and even in the music industry, look at Michael Jackson and his dad. I don't think that, they never had a great relationship, but his dad was obsessed of getting him to the top. And, sometimes you lose that balance. Same way with Tiger Woods and his dad. He wouldn't have became Tiger Woods without his dad constantly on his ass. Constantly, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. He finally made it to be considered maybe the best ever, but you could see that it took a toll on him. Well, and you can go back to Floyd Mayweather and his dad. You're going to have issues. You just hope when it comes fight night that they are a united front, because now is not the time to where you can show any weakness in that area. And also, if your son is in trouble, now is not the time to let your ego get the best of you. You have to understand that's your child in there, and you got to always do what's best for him, okay, and remove yourself from the equation. Very interesting element or scenario that we could look at. As I said, you can see right underneath the surface that it is some tension. Sometimes you have parents, man, and they don't even have to be in sports or in film or in music. It's just sometimes it's just never good enough for them. If you do it well, they expect you to do it over and over again and do it perfect, and they put that pressure on you. Well, Teofimo, he's a grown man now, and I'm sure he's looking for his independence, and he wants his voice to be heard. I think it would be unfortunate if they do split after this fight, but if the performance is not there and he loses in dramatic fashion, you can very well look at that possibility as him going with another trainer. I can see that playing out, Joseph. I really can.
I could see him actually going with Joey Gamache as his head trainer. He's already, turned towards Joey Gamache with co-trainer duties, right?
Right.
And he's a guy who's boxing through and through, former fighter, very, very good guy. And he's a guy who's the exact opposite of Teofimo Sr. He's very unemotional, right? So, I'm with you. I could completely see him going that route, right? But I tell you what, guys, if you haven't seen this docuseries, right, leading up to these fights, do yourself a favor and go check it out. It's on demand on ESPN right now. And look, in contrast, you look at Anatoly Lomachenko and his relationship with Vasyl. There's no arguing. There's always that level of respect, and it seems to be all business. He listens to his and they ask him, well, why are you so good? And he goes, well, it's all my father. My father made me. He coached me. He's done everything. He goes, my dad is in control of everything. He's like playing a video game. He's holding the joystick, and I'm the little icon on the screen doing whatever he needs me to do to win. That I've never heard that before. That is so interesting, but that just tells you the level of respect that he has for his dad. And that they don't have any problems. He's fine with it. He's fine giving his dad all the credit in the world. That's where that respect is. They have a very seemingly, now, once again, just from what they tell us, and, going back to Lou Gehrig, right? It's like, well, people only know what you tell them. Well, yeah, so as we can see from what they've told us on these specials, yeah, everything's fine in Lomachenko land, brother. That's gonna. I may be wrong, but I think that's going to be a huge, huge factor. So if I were actually advising Team Lopez, two things. Just like you stated, you know what? You are who you are in the ring. It's like you dance with the partner you took to the prom. Don't try to redefine yourself at the 11th hour. Don't do it. And also, do not take this emotional baggage with you in the ring. It can only hurt you. It's never going to help you, right? But, guys, go check out Blood, Sweat, and Tears, episodes 1 and 2 on ESPN right after the show, guys. Go check it out. So we're running out of time, Rodney, but I need to get your thoughts on this because I really feel for Devin Haney, right? The WBC just came out and stated that, oh, yeah, hell, hey, Vasyl Lomachenko is our guy. He's the WBC champion. Our belt is going to be up for grabs in this unification contest, this brilliant unification fight. Yeah, I know he's the franchise champion, but that was only if he moved down back to 130, but he's still at 135, so he's still our guy. He's still the WBC champion.
Yeah.
Well, what about Devin Haney? Man, poor Devin Haney can't catch a break. He can't buy a decent fight to save his life. He can't get the guys he wants in the ring, and now he is now not even he's still the WBC champion in essence, in theory. And once again, this is just the crap from the WBC. This is what they do, guys. Right? When they see how big Vasyl Lomachenko's purse is, and it's been a very slow year for the WBC, right? Not nearly as many fights as they'd like. So, well, gosh, we need to tax this purse. So, hey, you know what? Hey, rather than just being the franchise champion, well, hey, you're going to be fighting for the WBC championship. So we're going to take 3% of your $3.25 million purse, and we're going to tax it, and we're going to make $97,000. The week of the fight, announcing that, oh, you're our guy. Oh, Devin Haney, he doesn't fight until November 7th. So, yeah, but right now, you're our guy. Your thoughts on the WBC's, and once again, this is typical, but your thoughts on the WBC's announcement that Vasyl Lomachenko is indeed the WBC lightweight champion.
I mean, it's just BS, though, and it's just politics as usual. And like you say, this is very common with the WBC. And, to me, they lost credibility with me years ago. Like I say, this is not the first time. I'm sure it won't be the last. And things like this, when these things happen, it prevents the best from fighting the best. And I truly believe that Devin Haney is one of the best. As I said, very unfortunate, and they're really leaning towards Lomachenko very heavy. They seem to be in bed with him and are wedded together, and they made that known again with this recent move, which, again, as I said, man, I would really love to see that 130, 135 talent pool fight each other, give the fans what they want to see. But, again, when you do something like the WBC did, if I'm a Lomachenko, I mean, again, he has the skills to, I think, beat anybody that he faces. But it also gives him a option to say, you know what, at the end of the day, I'm already crowned. So, why do I have to fight another top-tier guy? Or if I do fight him, maybe I can fight him, on my terms and when I get ready. So it's just, again, that's one of the things that give boxing a black eye. And again, sometimes it's the fans, but sometimes it's the sanctioning organizations too, Joseph, like in this instance.
Well, yeah, as of late it's been the sanctioning organizations. And let me tell you what's going to happen, though, and this is the way it should be. You're going to get a unification and find out who the best man is at 135 pounds. And then immediately, the winner and the loser, they're going to get out of the division. And so they're going to vacate all the belts. And so you can actually, theoretically, have a tournament with everyone involved now. Once again, relinquishing and vacating all the belts. So now you could actually have Ryan Garcia, Luke Campbell, Gervonta Davis, Jorge Linares. You could have all these cats now at 135 competing once again for all of the belts. It's going to work out, but what I would do if I were Vasyl Lomachenko, I would say, hey, you know what? This is already going to be for all the marbles. The Ring magazine has already designated this 1 versus 2 at 135. This is going to be for the lineal championship, and this is already unification. Everyone recognizes this, the winner, as the man at 135 pounds. WBC is meaningless at this point, and I'm not even going to have this title in my next fight. So you know what? I'm not going to pay $97,000, that 3% of my purse, just to carry around the stupid green strap. You know what? You can keep your strap. Give it to Devin Haney. You already have. Thanks for playing, brother. That's what I would do if I were Vasyl Lomachenko. I'd say, you know what? It means nothing to me. Go stick it. Go stick it, Suleiman. That's what I would do. Would you give them almost $100,000 just for showing up and giving you a belt?
Absolutely not.
I tell you what, yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I love the way this is going to play out because Teofimo Lopez is going to immediately move up in weight to 140 after this fight. Vasyl Lomachenko, because of all the top-rank promoted fighters that are currently competing at 130 pounds, we're going to see Vasyl Lomachenko potentially fight the winner of Valdez versus Burchelt. You're going to see Vasyl Lomachenko theoretically face the winner of, Carl Frampton maybe with Semper Fi, right? So obviously he's moving down because there are so many easy fights to make. Like, Top Rank pretty much has a monopoly on all of the 130-pound talent with the exception of Santa Cruz and Gervonta Davis, right? They've got Shakur Stevenson. That's why Vasyl Lomachenko is moving back down. That's where the biggest fights are for him. And those are the easiest fights to make. Now think about how difficult it's going to be to make fights with Ryan Garcia.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? With Devin Haney. Think about how difficult those fights would be to make. And those aren't easy fights either. Now, obviously, the badasses at 130, none of those fights are easy. But, yeah, so we're going to see a nice little tournament at 130 pounds, all promoted by Top Rank, so they're all easy fights to make. So this is going to work out really well. It's going to vacate all of the titles at 135, so we get to start all over and crown new title holders and potentially have a great tournament at 135. So, yeah, this is going to play out really well for the lightweight division. So I promised, Rodney, that we would go over this, and I know we're almost out of time, but we do have to address this. Well, first of all, what is your final prediction for this fight, Rodney? Vasyl Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez. Do you think the matchup is going to resemble Calzaghe Lacy? Or do you think we could see a shocking early rounds upset and it looks like Mike Tyson versus Michael Spinks?
Well, I think it could be a mixture of both, to be honest. I have it where we have a 8th round stoppage. I think Lomachenko is going to impose his mental will. I think as the fight progresses, he's going to hit Teofimo clean. He's going to figure him out, and he's going to show him that it's different levels to this, and that, yes, he is a athletic freak of nature, but the boxing ring truly is home to Vasyl Lomachenko. So I have 8th round stoppage via TKO by Lomachenko, and I stand by that. And I've watched the fight to see how it can play out in other facets. And I truly believe, as you watch the fight, especially after the 3rd round, you watch how the tides really begin to turn, and the mental game is starting to be won by Vasyl. And look at how he's going to be calm and see his opposition that's going to be somewhat frazzled. And at that point, you're going to see the men separate themselves from the boys, and I think you're going to see Vasyl really impose his will. That's my prediction, sir.
Wow, an 8th round Vasyl Lomachenko stoppage. That's amazing. For that, Rodney, we're giving you the War Week round of applause. I love your brass, man, and I love the bold prediction. And you know what? A lot of people are starting to agree with you, man, because, well, we're seeing that trend of last-minute money during fight week going on a late-round stoppage for Vasyl Lomachenko. I love that prediction, and it won't surprise me if that happens, especially with the record that you've had lately, brother. Chingao, man. Freaking Boxtradamus. I'll say this. This is my official prediction, right? And guys, you're gonna read about it on the head-to-head article. I'm putting it out Friday morning, day of the weigh-in. In my opinion, I truly believe Teofimo Lopez is a special fighter and one that is very difficult to gauge because of his athletic gifts. his freakish power for his size, and his mental durability. Regardless of how emotional and abrasive he is, somehow he always seems to keep it together in the ring. Even when his dad, doing his best Angel Garcia impression, somehow he always seems to keep it together. And usually in events like this, Rodney, these special fighters always seem to show up on these big events, don't they? Special fighters almost always show up, and we see the best version of them on these big events. Unfortunately, he's facing an absolute living legend in Vasyl Lomachenko. This guy has reached Paul Bunyan status. He's that good. And honestly, yeah, it's just a damn shame. And don't you hate these fights, Rodney? Where, I mean, obviously you love to see them unfold before your very eyes, but don't you hate it when they're two very good fighters that you really hate to see one of them lose?
Yeah.
They're both very good for the sport, and you really hate to see this, but it has to happen. Right. And that's one of these fights. I really don't want to see either man lose. They're both very good for the sport of boxing. And Teofimo is ceiling's unlimited. Unfortunately, it's just too much too soon right now. And he's facing, in my opinion, the best fighter in boxing. So, yeah, I like, although both men are going to be tested in spots, I like Vasyl Lomachenko in a unanimous decision victory. I don't know if he gets a stoppage. It wouldn't surprise me if he did. So before we go, I hope you can visit with us another 5 minutes, Rodney, because
yeah, absolutely.
Very good, because we still have to go over, well, it looks like the Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder fight, the trilogy match, isn't happening anytime soon. And I'll say this, I wish I could say that I'm a little bummed out about this, but to be honest with you, Rodney, I'm very, very happy that this isn't happening. And so it clears the way for a huge unification bout between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. This is the real fight that fans want to see. The biggest money fight in boxing. This has to happen, and thank God that the trilogy fight isn't going to prolong the best fight in boxing taking place. Now, once again, there's been a lot of chatter saying, and I've seen fans and critics say that Wilder had no intention of, he doesn't want any part of Tyson Fury anymore. Well, here's what Bob Arum had to say about this, right? Quote, "You've got to understand the reason there was this very certain window for the rematch, that some people might say it was a small window. It was negotiated by both sides. They thought they were going to win, so they wanted as small a window as possible to get rid of the third fight so they would go on and not be burdened with it. So it was like we insisted that the window be very small to do the third fight because we didn't even know we were going to win. So it wasn't our doing, it was Heyman." Then he goes on to say this, because once again, and he insists that there's not going to be any legal recourse. And Arum, boy, he's a former attorney. Well, he's still an attorney. So yeah, he's not mistaken about reading the contract, right? He's an attorney. Now he goes on to say this, we lost the December 19th date. The network suggested that the end of January, the end of February. They gave us 2 dates, and, well, Tyson just said, no, I want to fight this year. So we're moving on now. It's not a force majeure situation because it had to be done by July. So they had a 90-day postponement clause. We postponed it until October. Then we decided to do it in December because October was too soon. So now it's just not going to happen. End quote. Rodney, so once again, it's just a contractual loophole and clause they didn't make this fight and meet it by the deadline. Arum found it in the contract, and so they're moving on. And Rodney, what are your thoughts about this? Because honestly, I'll tell you what I think. I think that Arum, as well as Heyman, because you haven't heard a peep out of Wilder or Heyman, I guarantee you, because the first fight, as big and as great as it was, or the second fight rather, as big as great as it was, it lost money for both ESPN and Fox. And without the benefit of the live gate, it's virtually impossible to stage this again. Because once again, you look at the size of both fighters' purses in this. Well, it was a great certainty that the third fight was more than likely going to lose money for them as well. In my opinion, ESPN and Fox, Heyman, basically said, okay, find a way out of this, because we're not going to lose any more money on this. And if we do, and we're contractually obligated to honor this contract, well, then you guys are going to pay for it, and we're going to take that money out of the allowance that you're giving per year, right? So in my opinion, Arum found a way out of this. And it was by pressure from the networks, because they're not in the business of losing money. Your thoughts on this, and are you, well, what are your feelings on not being able to see the trilogy fight between Fury and Wilder?
Well, first of all, to be honest, I really don't have a demand to see it. Just think about it. In the first fight they fought, I may have gave Deontay Wilder 2 or 3 rounds. Luckily he was able to catch Fury with a knockdown. But other than that, Fury showed who was the better fighter throughout that fight, and Fury, Wilder won. And then we already know what happened with Fury too. Okay, Fury is the superior fighter. He has nothing to prove, really. Again, I don't think that he wanted Deontay to be his first choice. I think he wanted to move on to something different. And good thing he has a promoter like Bob Arum who was able to recognize that and find a way out the contract, which, again, I commend them, and hopefully it gets us one step closer to the fight that we all want to see, which is Joshua and Fury, okay, which a fight that I know will definitely make a profit. I really believe, especially when you're able to have a live gate. So, again, man, we live in a business world where it's all about the supply and the demand. The demand is just not there with, Fury and Wilder anymore. I think we've seen enough. We know who the better fighter is. And I think also Al Heyman, it gives him time to really see what direction they want to take Wilder's career in as well, okay? So, I think it works well for both parties. It works well for the fans, too, because now we get a chance to really get one step closer to the ultimate heavyweight showdown. And like I say, I think this is the best thing for boxing, because what we don't want to do is have networks like Fox continue to lose money to where they get a sour taste in their mouth to where they want to do away with the sport of boxing. So I think it's a win-win for everybody, sir.
You know what? That is well said, man. In fact, I think you summed it up perfectly, brother. And this little tidbit of info just supports your theory there. Arum just stated in an interview today that the Anthony Joshua-Tyson Fury fight has already been agreed to. They've pretty much agreed to all terms. In fact, their purse split, it's already been agreed upon. It's going to be a 50-50 fight. They wanted to find a way out of this fight, and then the brilliant lawyer that Arum is, boy, he found the loophole, and they took it. End of story. So I tell you what, this is going to be a blessing in disguise for Deontay Wilder. He gets more time to regroup and try to redefine himself, get a new team behind him, and hopefully, be back and better than ever in 2021. We'll see, though. It's going to be interesting to see who he fights. But now we're over time, Rodney. Your final thoughts before we bid everyone an excellent Tuesday evening.
Man, it just I want to appreciate all the listeners for tuning in. Another great night of Boxing Talk. And what more can I say? I said it once. I said it twice. I said it again. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. It's going down Saturday. Somebody's going to get hit. And win, lose, or draw, we will be able to discuss it 7 days again from this very moment. So I'm looking forward to it, though. So, man, thank you to all the listeners. Y'all have a good evening, and we'll talk to you guys soon. And, yes, be there. Don't meet me there. Beat me there come Saturday night in front of your TV. Y'all be good now. Later.
Guys, he's Rodney Green. You can hear him every Tuesday night right here on Boxing 411. But, guys, that's going to just about do it. Want to thank everyone for tuning in. And, guys, don't forget to tell all of your friends, your neighbors, anyone you know to tune into this great fight for free on ESPN. Guys, thank you so much. On behalf of Rodney Green, I'm Joseph Herron. You've been listening to War Week Radio and Boxing 411. Have a great Tuesday night, everybody.